Hello, this is a screencast about how to fill out your text complexity analysis as part of the Idaho Core Teachers Network fall online class. So we're going to start here in Schoology on Module 3. We are on the lesson plan page, and as you scroll down and start looking over the materials, naturally you want to read the articles that you're required to read beforehand, but the purpose of the screencast is to teach you how to fill out the text complexity analysis form. So we're going to base our work on the model that you get to by clicking here. That model I have pulled up here in Microsoft Word, and we're going to start at the top of this analysis of Katie's trunk. So right here in the text description in this model, they describe the text in two sentences. They talked about the major theme that Katie's encounter with rebel troops unveils unexpected forms of courage, and then just a very brief idea of the setting and major characters at play. If we move over here to the recommended complexity band level, you'll notice that this is where the author of this text complexity analysis essentially makes an argument for where the text should be placed. We recommend filling this section out last because this is where you can sum up your thoughts about the quantitative, qualitative, and reader task features that provide your rationale for placing the text where you did. So it says here, although the quantitative features of Katie's trunk place it at the grade 2 to 3 band, the qualitative features, such as the themes, as well as reader task and considerations, such as the grade level standards at play, may make this text more appropriate for grades 4 and 5 complexity band. So that means if you go down here to the quantitative measures, it looks pretty low, but here the author provides good reasons why it should be placed higher. So that brings us down to the quantitative measures. In this analysis, they used Lexile as a measurement. You're totally welcome to do that, but we want to be clear that Lexile is not the only show in town. There are a variety of other resources out there. If you want to familiarize yourselves with them, one way to start is look on achievethecore.org at their text complexity tools. If you search for that on there and you finding Common Core grade levels for text guide to online tools, and you go to that resource, they provide a Word document with all the websites that are related to this issue. Many of these quantitative measures are also mentioned in Appendix A of the Common Core. That's another good place to look to start thinking about those things. If you go to page 7 and 8 of Appendix A, it starts talking about quantitative measures. If you want to use Lexile, you can go to lexile.com/analyzer. You can get there by just going to lexile.com. You have to register on the site, but you can type in a brief passage to get your Lexile measure. Obviously, you don't have time to type in an entire text into the analyzer, but a reasonable amount that can give the analyzer enough information to get an idea of what the complexity level is will give you a good idea. Another option is I just Googled text complexity analysis tools, and readabilityscore.com came up, and you can type in a text there and that'll give you the Flesch-Kincaid score, and if you scroll down it'll also give you the grade levels and such that are associated with it. You can also use Flesch-Kincaid using Microsoft Word. If you type in Flesch-Kincaid Word, and then you can go down to whichever version of Word you're using, or Mac, maybe you're using 2007, you can put that in there, and a set of directions will pop up for you about how to do that. So there are a lot of different options for the quantitative tools, so please be sure to just pick one that works for you. If we go over here to range, you'll notice that 660 lies between 450 and 790, and that's because in a classroom a teacher might use a variety of texts that have different quantitative measures. So in this range section, it helps me refer to page 8 of Appendix A of the Common Core. If you look at that at the bottom of page 8. It gives you a little box related to Lexile, and the range is this set of numbers that your text will fall between, and then the grade level band are the grade levels that are associated with it. And it's really important to note in the quantitative features for Lexile, for K1, it says not applicable in this area, and Flesch Kincaid also doesn't go down much below more about an 8 to 11-year-old range, and that's because those kinds of texts that are appropriate for those students are difficult to measure with a quantitative measure. It's okay if you're using a K1 text, if you don't have a set score for that, but we'd like you to at least try and see what it is to rule out that it's not a 4th or 5th grade level text. And that's kind of part of the whole process, is to see where it's at and use that to help you make your claim about where the text belongs and why appear in the recommended complexity band level. So don't be frustrated if something doesn't pop up in here that makes sense right away, and it's okay if it doesn't correlate exactly with your grade level band, as long as you can make a reasonable case for it up here. So if you go down to qualitative measures, you can tell here that the author addressed things like meaning and purpose and text structure and language features kind of in a list or series of bullets. This makes it very easy to read and understand. If you're looking for resources or ideas to consider in the qualitative measures, there's a couple different places you can go looking for that. One of them is on our Schoology website. If you go to on that same lesson plan page, if you click on the resources folder, it'll take you to the resources folder. And if you click on this top document here, the qualitative rubrics for literary and informational texts, it gives you a whole list to choose from here, and feel free to borrow liberally from the language that they use here. Another option, again, is Appendix A of the Common Core. They have a whole section on reader task down here, which we'll get to next, and qualitative features are up here on page 6. So taking it back to the analysis sheet, if we go to the next page, like I mentioned before, you'll see considerations for reader and task. And this is probably one of the most single important things to mention and write about in here, because this is your chance when you're doing your analysis of explaining how the text is going to be used in the classroom. For example, if it's going to be read aloud, that's going to make a big difference in how students comprehend it, rather than if they read it alone or in small groups or a combination thereof. Another major thing to consider is your instructional area of focus, and this is where you can provide, for starters, just a list of ideas of standards that could be addressed with this text. Out of that list of standards that could be addressed, there should be some of the standards that you named in the previous module with your focus standards sheet. Hopefully there's at least 1 or 2 that will show up in here, because that's why you want to use the central text, is to reach those standards. And over here you can get specific about potential challenges, that stumbling blocks that the text might be for certain students, and then furthermore down here how you can address those stumbling blocks. So this last section is just as important as the other 2, and kind of gives you a complete picture for when you fill out the recommended complexity band level. You're going to weigh in as the expert here about where you recommend it based on the 3 features. So we hope this screencast was helpful for you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact your coach. We are here to help clarify and address any misunderstandings. Thank you.